Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of the Arkansas Volleyball Podcast. I'm the host, Robert Birch, and we got a great lineup for you today. We got Jordan Neal, the head coach of the Ozark Juniors 16 Premier Team, probably one of the most talented teams around. And we're going to talk recruiting. We're going to talk about his path from being an Arizona club coach to an Arkansas Razorback to now being at Ozark Juniors, and just what college coaches are looking for in recruiting and evaluating players. We actually get the good fortune to talk to two of his players, Molly Miller, the setter, and Caroline Stallbaumer, the middle, and sometimes pin. To the regardless of class, I think two of the top players in the state. We're going to get their insight of what they see in recruiting, how they're working out to become better players, and they're entering that pivotal year where the June 15th phone calls come, and they're preparing for that. And we're going to talk about that some, and we're going to talk a little bit about the teams that played this past weekend, and we talk a little bit about our top 10 and the 15s, 16s and 17s, and I get asked an awful lot why I don't cover below 15s and why I don't cover 18s. The below 15s um, is tough because while everybody wants attention, that the 14s and all, it's developmental. They need to be working on everything that they can to get better and develop. Similar to the 15s, but they're starting to get into um, a little bit of the recruiting process, as far as definitely need to be videoing, sending out emails, start building a big broad list. I encourage a lot of parents to definitely start working with NAIA Division three schools because they have different rules. They can talk to you at any time, really, and it gets you used to those conversations. But let's jump into it. We had some great action this weekend, and we're going to start off with our 15s division. The EVA 15 Elite jumped in and grabbed a Liberty bid this weekend, so congratulations to them. We had a couple of teams that played up. I think Ozark Juniors 15 Premier played up in an open division, played well. Um, and you have the Storm 15 Elite that are right there on the verge of getting a bid. And you have the EVA 15 Nationals that have already got a bid. They've got some talented players on their team. That just shows the depth of EVA's program. That their 15 elite team is back and forth one of the top two teams in that age bracket. But their 15 national team is right there with them, and kudos to them for jumping out and getting that bid and getting the trip to nationals. Um, so you've got great play in there, and they're going to continue to get better. And watching them in their 16-year-old year is going to be exciting. You jump into the 16s. To me, it's the deepest division that we have in the state. It is just packed full of talent, and a lot of that talent is on two different teams. One being the Ozark Junior Premier and the 501 16-1 national team. Those two teams are deep. They're skilled at every position. Um, they really just they play well together. Their chemistry is great. Um, you've got uh, high level pins, you got high level middles, you got high level setters, you got DSs, and you got my Maddie Sledge, who's my top libero in the state for the 16s. You got the Ferrari, London Jackson on the outside, Taylor Wary backing her up, Michaela Davis in the middle, Asa Sperry and Olivia Ambo on the right side and setting. I mean, they're just packed with talent. But then you look at Ozark Juniors. Um, the thing I think that they have that sets them apart is their size is incredible. You look at across the front, you're going to have Tristan Hamilton who can jump out of the gym. You got Kenzie Hogue and Caroline Stallbaumer in the middle, both over 6 foot. You have Ava Brown, who I think is the best right side in the state, who's over 6 foot and left-handed, just pounds the ball. And so, you just got skill everywhere. And you're going to see I wouldn't be surprised if you see them end up with a higher bid. The great thing about the 16th division is the top four teams all have bids right now. Portsmouth Juniors, they pulled off an American bid, and then EVA, 16 Elite, 501, and Ozark Juniors all have Liberty bids right now, and that is just some great depth. The one thing about the EVA team is, you don't have just the superstar um, standouts that you may see on 501, you may see on Ozark Juniors. But what EVA has is they have a very, very solid roster. They play very disciplined volleyball. They play a great team game, and they don't have quite the size some of the other teams do, but they just frustrate teams with their defense and their system that they run. And it's fun to watch them play because you don't see that just big, huge, intimidating team walking out there, but they're so solid and so well coached um, that they're going to be in that mix in that Liberty Division and National. So that's going to be well represented by Arkansas. Um, you look at a couple other teams that have some opportunities to get bids. I would expect the West Arkansas Storm, 16 Adidas to get a bid soon. They keep playing well. Conway Juniors, man, they've been right there a couple times, and they've got an impressive outside at Paisley Porter, 6'1". She can play any of the front row positions and has had to play a little bit of middle this year for them. Uh, and I would expect them probably in the American division to get a bid soon. And then the 17s division, you've got uh, two teams with bids so far. You've got Ozark Juniors 17 Premier, which I think is the best 17-year-old team in the state. Um, you have the EVA 17 Elite, who is, again, another very solid, just all around good team, extremely well coached, extremely disciplined. They'll wear you down. And those both have Liberty bids. I don't remember as many schools having Liberty bids or higher at this point in the year, or not schools, excuse me, teams having Liberty bids or higher this early in the season. I know it's getting kind of towards the end of it. You got the Delta Regional coming up soon. That's going to be held in Cabot, which is going to be great. I get to go out and watch a bunch of the good teams here locally. Um, but you got two teams there. You've got a couple of teams that are on the verge. And you have the EVA 17 Nationals that have an American bid, I believe. So again, it goes to their depth. Um, it's just going to be a fun year. And one team, I want to make sure that I point this out, that when I did my rankings last week, I'll fix it today when my rankings come out for this week, is the 501 17s, their national team. They should be right up there in the top 10 and will be this time around. I occasionally make some typing errors when I'm editing things, and I left them out, and I apologize for that. So um, I expect them to jump up and get a bid soon. So a lot of excitement in Arkansas volleyball. It just keeps getting better and better. We've got some just outstanding talent. I think the class of 2008 is the cream of the crop talent wise, top to bottom. But you cannot look past either the 17s or the 15s. A lot of great quality players in both those divisions. So we're going to have a fun time watching the rest of the season. And now I want to get to the main part of our program tonight, our show, and that is talking with Jordan Neal, former University of Arkansas assistant coach with the NCAA tournament, all the way to the Elite Eight, and now Ozark Junior 16 Premier coach. We videoed this earlier this week, so I hope everybody has a great weekend. If you like what we're doing here, hit the like button and subscribe. I'm not looking to grow a big audience for me. I'm looking to grow an audience for Arkansas volleyball. Um, and always, if you need any help, any assistance, you can reach out. And my information is in my bio. And would love to help you with recruiting in any way that we can. We don't charge. We just try and give you the opportunity to do what you want to do in your future and continue to play the great game of volleyball. So let's get with it, and let's hear from Jordan and Molly Miller and Caroline Stallbaumer from Ozark Premier 16 and they are the top team in that division. So a lot of good things to listen to. Now we got joining us. We got Jordan Neal, former University of Arkansas assistant coach, and now coach of Ozark Juniors 16 Premier, which is to me the top 16-year-old team in the state, and actually has a couple of the players that I think are just overall top players in the state. So, Jordan, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So, you came out of actually out of Arizona, correct? So how long
Yeah.
did you coach in Arizona at the club level?
Yeah. So we were in kind of the east suburbs of Phoenix for about 7 years. And I was at East Valley Juniors, kind of cutting my teeth with 13 twos teams and 14 twos teams. And then um, coached there for a little while longer and ended up at Club One, which is where I was at when I came out to Arkansas. So about 7 years at club over there.
So how did it come to be that you ended up on Coach Watson's staff?
Yeah. So Macy Gardner was a close family friend of ours from Gilbert. Yeah, she's a Gilbert, Arizona kid. And so
Mhm.
she had played for Jason at Arizona State, was assisting him at Arkansas, and I'm at Triple Crown, and we had lunch together. And she said, "Hey, I've been talking to Jason, and he'll let you keep your day job if you want to come out and volunteer for us." And so I talked to my wife, and we thought it was cool. My wife's born and raised Arkansan, and I had moved her out there to Arizona with me. And so it made sense to come back. We were trying to get closer to family. And so it was just like a perfect little situation for us.
Well, you came at a good time. You know,
Yeah.
it was interesting. The very first guest I had on here was Charlie Olson, who was the former coach at ULM, and he had a
Okay.
very similar start at Tennessee,
Yeah.
and kind of the
Wow.
same, almost that same thing of, hey, you know, we can't really pay you. You can volunteer, you can do this, we can help you out in these ways, and he just jumped out and jumped in it. So that's
Yeah.
a that's the thing I think that some people don't understand the grind that these assistant coaches go through, and obviously the head coaches because they went through it in their
Yeah.
past as well. And I got to know Jason pretty well when my daughter was being recruited. He was actually her first phone call, and he's an interesting character for sure. But um, I just don't think that everybody understands what you guys sacrifice on that level. Um, with the travel, with the family, and and it's just like in baseball, which is what my background has always been in. Most of the baseball assistants are volunteers,
Yep.
and you got to love the game, and you got to see the ability for the future. And so
Yeah.
I commend you for jumping out on that island and going for it. And
Yeah.
I'm sure, like I said, your wife was happy. Where's she from? Arkansas.
She spent some time in Siloam, Batesville, but most of her time in Batesville.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Beautiful
Um,
town.
Oh, Batesville, it's a hidden gem. I mean, I love going
Yeah.
there. It's so pretty. But
So,
so what was that transition like going from high school to SEC level, you know, pretty much as good as it gets volleyball.
yeah. I think I was surprised by the two extremes of it. One, with the access you have to information and data and film. And then at the same time, you're even trying to be more simple. Like Coach Watson has this remarkably simple take on scouting reports. He's got a really simple take on systems. And so I was surprised that we had access to all of this and we were using it in the background. But in the gym, we were trying to be even more simple than we had ever been. Our athletes are so skilled and so talented, and you just don't want to, over complicate things.
Yeah, you don't want to get
So,
in their way.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
that kind of thing. Yeah.
so well, we just had a couple of your players join us. I'll let
Welcome,
you introduce
ladies.
them if you want to.
Yeah, we got two athletes with us. This is Molly Miller. Molly Miller sets for us on Ozark 16s and plays at Fayetteville High. And then Caroline Stallbaumer, who plays a lot of different things, but primarily middle blocker. And she's from Shiloh Christian.
I have enjoyed watching both of y'all. Welcome to the show. I'm glad you could join us, and we're talking about a little bit right now that transition that Jordan took going from Arizona coaching club up to Fayetteville, and now we're now going back down. And I think for you guys, it's a tremendous opportunity to have a coach that has been through what it looks like on the other side, the side you're looking to get to. So, how's he helped you guys out so far?
Um, well, in like the actual volleyball part, I think he's helped me so much like learn my style of play and learn how it is for me to lead and what my style of leadership means because I feel like before I've always been taught that a setter has to be the loudest one on the court and has to do this. But Jordan's really helped me develop my style of leadership, which isn't always the loudest style of leadership, but it's very much like a pull the team together kind of leadership. Like whenever it's really frazzled, I feel like my style of leadership is just helping stay calm. And Jordan's really helped me develop that these past few months. And then with recruiting stuff, he's just been so helpful with knowing what to do because I didn't really know like how often to send emails, what to put in my emails, who to reach out to. And so he's been really helpful with keeping all of that on track and make sure that we're all getting that done on time and getting it sent to the right people.
That's awesome. Caroline?
For me, I think he's really helped me with like just being more than a middle. Because like before, honestly, I was just like, oh, I'm middle. I don't have to do this. I don't have to pass. I don't have to serve. But like he's really helped me develop into like being able to pass, being able to serve, being able to play off blocker defense, just being able to like play multiple positions. And I think that's been really helpful.
Yeah, I had shot you a message earlier when I saw some of your video of you hitting outside. And, I think that is so great that you're having the opportunity to adjust to some different positions because that's going to help your skill set overall. And, I can tell you from the experience, and again, I relate a lot of stuff to the experience that I've had with my own daughter is, you know, they've had several players that they've come in as an outside and they end up as a right side, or they end up as a middle, or they end up as a DS, just depending on where they fit. Where you can dominate in high school and club ball, it gets different when you step up there with the big kids.
Yeah.
And so having that flexibility is a great thing. And okay, Molly, how tall are you exactly?
Around 5'10".
Okay. I always joke about that because, you know, that was I was told, your daughter's 5'10". Put on there that she's 5'11 and a half. The recruiter's
Yeah.
going,
Uh-huh.
no, just put that you're 5'10". Your
Yeah,
play,
because
your
they
play
can tell.
dictates how good you are. And they know. I mean, they can see. Um, so Jordan, back to you of kind of what is the culture that you have kind of carried through your career from Arizona to Arkansas and now to Ozark?
Yeah, I was so thankful that Jason and I see the game and see athletes in a really similar way. I've learned an enormous amount from him about how to relate relationally to athletes, how to teach athletes in a relational style. Um, and so I think what I and my assistant and I talk about is being high demand, high care, which is a play on one of his core values there at Arkansas. And so one of the things that I think has been over my whole coaching career is that I want to be really high demand. Like our athletes are held to these incredibly high standards, but at the same time, that's matched by the amount that they know I care for them. So that's kind of the core of what we do, and then we go out from there.
And this ties into the last episode that I did with Jason Curry and Blair Perry. How much do you spend on the mental side of the game?
Yeah, it's interesting. We do a little bit of reflecting about who they're becoming as people and how we navigate the pressures and some of those things. We've got a term that is like team tunnel vision, that when we step on the floor, like you've just got to get really tunnel vision right here. We can't be looking around, we can't be eyes around. You've got to have tunnel vision for the moment you're in. Besides that, though, we've got this group of really mature kids, honestly, that have handled this whole process incredibly well, where we've gotten to spend a lot of time on volleyball and a little less than maybe I was expecting on navigating some of these challenges because they're a really mature crew.
Well, and that's tough because you have a very, very talented team across the board. I mean, we're fortunate to have these two young ladies with us, but it could have, as I sent you, I said it could have been anybody on your team, and it would be a home run guest to have on. Um, and I do this on my own, and I kind of started it on my own, and just so everybody knows, and ladies, just so you know that he does stick up for his team. One of the very first messages I ever got on Instagram was when I first came out with a ranking and I had a team ranked above you guys. And I had no idea. Honestly, at the time, I had no idea who he was at first. And he sent me the thing. He goes, "Man, it would just be a shame if they actually played each other." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm sure down the road they will somewhere." He goes, "Well, actually, they have." And I make a mistake from time to time. And one of the ones that actually bothered me was I left off when I was doing my ranking of y'all's class specifically. I left off Tristan, and I
Mhm.
I had her in there originally, and it's an editing error, and the actual coach from Little Rock Central sent me a message and said, "Are you kidding me? What about Tristan Hamilton?" And I'm like, "Well, she's in there." She's like, "No, she's not," and I'm like, "Oh, God, no!" And I'd already sent everything out, so you can't really get
Yeah.
that back in. But looking at you guys' roster, it really is incredible. One, the size that you have, which you don't see a whole lot in. And some reason, I don't know why, it's all up in Northwest Arkansas. How all the tall girls have moved up there. My best friend was Bentonville's baseball coach for 20 something years. And he would always come when we play tournaments up there. I'd see him and I'd ask him, I was like, "Todd, man, where do these kids come from? They're huge. Like every team has 3 6 foot girls or better. And we have a 5'9" middle, you know. But it's incredible to see and to watch how they walk on the court because I watched plenty of video of all of them, and I'm looking forward to seeing them in person soon. And but it's like you said, they carry themselves on the court different, and that is I commend you guys in Ozark Juniors for being able to hone in those kids together when that is a very fragile relationship sometimes when you have that many good players and everybody wants the ball, everybody wants their shot. I could see a situation where moving Caroline to outside, somebody could get upset because you're taking some swings away from them. So it's great that you guys have managed that and talk a little bit about the team's attitude, all three of you, about the team's attitude of that culture of, hey, if I'm sitting the game or I'm sitting a set and you're playing, it's our goal is one goal. So kind of talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'll put one of them on the spot. You guys can decide which. But at the top of our whiteboard, we have these four core values that are written up there every time, and we reference those really regularly. And those are,
Compete,
yes,
Together.
yep,
serve.
Oh shoot.
I always forget the last one.
all good. Prepare.
Prepare,
Prepare.
yes.
I should have prepared you for that moment. But when we talk about that third one, we talk about serve, like you've got to serve the team. That's the entire purpose of what you're doing out there. And so at times your role is going to be expanded in service of the team, and sometimes your role is going to be diminished or changed in service of the team. But that's a core value we've committed to. And so we're going to live that out every time we take the floor. And competition in there, like, hey, these two are on the floor because they've competed for jobs, and that's been tough. Like, it's not easy to get on the floor on this team. Um, and because of our depth, we're able to use a lot of athletes over the course of a weekend, right? So we're seeing a lot of kids in critical matches, in critical moments, they still help us win. It's crazy how many kids we've had that have impacted winning over the course of these tournaments we've played in big time moments.
Well,
I'd agree.
yeah, I think that's great that you can keep your kids fresh as well. Again, I came from the baseball world, and we're not going to throw our ace pitcher right off the bat, but we got to get to the games where he's really going to matter. So we might throw him a little bit that first day or whatever, but you got to know what that entire goal is, and it's such a grind over a weekend. But go ahead, Molly. You
I also think like our coach before Jordan, Jenny, she was really big about it's not about you, it's about the team. And so I think that, and most of us have had her for, 2 or 3 years. And so I think that knowing that from such a young age really helped us develop that sense of togetherness and that sense of team. And like Jordan said, we have our core values that he's really drilled into us this year. And it's like, just like being and it's also because we're all such good friends that it's like there's not even any room for any animosity towards each other because we love each other so much and we have such great friendships outside of volleyball. And so I think that helping foster that has really also made a difference in being able to support each other when it comes to those tough moments. And like Jordan was saying, we have so many, like we have such a good depth of in a range of athletes on our team that it's so good for us to be able to compete with each other and work for those spots because it just every day we're getting better because we have so much talent on our team.
I want to call.
I'm not going to edit that out because my cat's fixing to walk in front of the screen. So, and there she
There
goes.
you go. And there we are.
Now I want to get into really kind of the meat of what I try and help with. And I started doing recruiting for obviously for my daughter when she played, and she had 4 or 5 teammates that didn't have a clue, and a couple of them were single parents, just didn't have the time to do all that stuff. So I helped them from my experience on the baseball side, wasn't that much different. So I want to talk about some recruiting stuff, and this is great that I have the perspective of a former college coach, a current club coach, and 2 players that are about to enter that time where it's going to get hectic. So starting with Jason, what is in your opinion a college coach looking for? Just as a broad of not position specific, but when they're looking at the top 200 players, top 300 players in the country, what are they really focusing on?
Yeah, one of the traits that's been referenced in a couple of different conversations I've had recently has been competitiveness. Coaches are really trying to figure out just how competitive an athlete is, because those days get long and those years get long, and they want to know that there's still going to be some fire left over for those guys after their club careers. So we're really lucky. We have a crew that's filled with really competitive people. And that gets displayed a couple different ways. So I think one of the things that I try to communicate is like the way that Molly shows she's competing is different than the way that Carol's going to show she's competing. But the 2 kids are highly competitive people, and this is how. And this is how. And so I think competitive, they want decent learners, right? They want athletes that are seeking to learn and are asking questions. We have a pretty cool rapport in our gym where it's not as prescriptive, maybe. It's a lot of back and forth. What did you see here? Why did you make that choice? Those kinds of things. So trying to help our athletes learn to learn on a volleyball court. And probably those 2 things, have come up the most.
Yeah. Um, what do you see as a big mistake that players make in recruiting?
Yeah, it's hard. I don't know if I describe it as much as of a mistake as you want to know what the outcome is, and then you want to be pretty laser focused there. So if the outcome is I want to play college volleyball, period, then we can't get this really narrow list together early. Like that's just not going to make any sense for that outcome. And we're going to want to keep the list really broad, and we're going to want to address small schools and large schools, and we're going to keep it a really big list. If the outcome we're chasing is, hey, I want to go to a school with this many thousand students, and I want volleyball to be a part of that if possible, okay, then let's be really specific towards that goal. And so maybe we kind of reverse engineer that. We make those decisions later in the process, where I think it makes sense to do some soul searching to figure out what the outcome is that you're looking for, and then to organize around that.
Yeah, I think to me, the thing that I see, and I talk to probably more parents than I do kids, because I'll start the conversation with the kids, but I'm going to talk to their parents. I'm not going to, go fill a kid's head with, oh, you're great, you're this, you're that. I try and go to anyone that helps. I said, okay, if you want help, then have your parents call me. The thing that I see is, and you hear it talked about all the time, the D1 or bust mentality, which is, I think it's really tough. And I tell these younger kids that are even 15 and 16 before that June 15th deadline, it's like, talk to NAIA schools, talk to D3 schools. They can talk to you at any time. They don't have quite the same rules, and you learn how to have those conversations. And you may find out that, man, I really like this school because it is really, you've got to find that fit over everything else because, one bad step under the net and you come down on somebody's foot, your career could be done. And are you somewhere where you like to be? Everybody gets caught up in all the transfer portal stuff and all that. You got these kids that are going somewhere different. It's more in other sports, but it's hitting volleyball pretty tough. Um,
Yep.
you know, what are you real? What are your long-term plans? I tell them, step back, deep breath. What is your life after? I think you said it a minute ago. What's your life after volleyball going to look like? And can you add volleyball in? You got some girls that are going to have a tremendous opportunity to play at some pretty big schools, in my opinion. But that may not be the fit for them. They may enjoy a smaller school. They may enjoy an environment where they can come in and play immediately. You go in these D1 schools, and it's tougher competition. So I think the biggest thing that I see is, um, you know, and I have helped a couple families um, that was their mentality. And hey, we got them to a D1 school. I mean, they do the work. I don't take any credit for it. I don't do anything other than just tell them, hey, you may want to think about this. Here's the way you approach it, but you guys need to be the ones in control of the process, and you don't need to go out and spend $3,500 to have somebody represent you, you know, in all these different sites that you pay for and go to all these, camps that you don't have to do all that stuff. There's some of it you do. So don't feel the pressure of somebody's going to look bad at you if you're not Division One. So what have you had, or excuse me, ladies, what have y'all had, what have y'all experienced so far? I know you're not really at that point of being able to have the conversations per se because of NCAA rules, but what have you experienced so far?
Well, obviously, we've been sending emails like crazy. Like, usually after tournaments, I try to make at least 2 videos of film because I try to send film weekly, and we usually have like a week or two in between tournaments. So that'll give me enough time to make the film and then send the emails the next day, and then, yeah, wait for the next week, do the same thing. So that's a lot of what I do to like get that kick started. But right now we can't really have a lot of conversations. So I'd say we both get, camp invites just to be
Yeah.
able to go and visit in the summer, but that's really about the extent of what I've gotten so far.
So
Yeah,
Caroline, how do you discern between the generic camp invite letters versus because there's a way you can discern between one that everybody gets versus hey, we really want you to come. Have you been able to tell the difference in those yet?
yeah, some of them are very like generalized and very like similar to each other. Like it kind of says the same thing, like, hey, we can't talk to you until June 15th because the rules. And some of them are like just graphics. But then some of them are more like personalized. And it's like, hey, Caroline, like we've been watching you. We'd love for you to come out to camp. Like I feel like it's just you can tell. And then if they email you multiple times, I feel like that's also very helpful for me.
Yeah. Do y'all both are y'all both on University Athlete?
Yes.
So you're seeing that you're getting evaluated. You
Yes.
just, it's almost mean because you can see you're getting evaluated. You just can't see
Mhm.
what they're saying.
I know.
But it's a great tool, and I don't get paid by them or anything like that. I've met with some people from there, and it really is. And I've talked to several coaches that's all they use. They don't use any other
Yeah.
recruiting services. They use nothing but. And Jordan, did y'all use that when you were there? Or,
We did. We used it a ton. Yeah.
yeah.
You
And I've had a couple coaches that have just flat out said, if you're advising kids, tell them they don't need to go spend any money anywhere else. If they're going to spend money on an app, spend it on that one. And
Yeah.
he goes, because that's the one that we all use. So if you're starting to see that multiple evaluations by the same team, you got to figure that's pretty good. So that's a thing that can help you uh, work on your list eventually.
Mhm.
So I keep wanting to say Andy because yours says Andy Miller on there.
Oh, sorry, that's my
were.
dad.
Oh, that's okay. So if I call you Andy by accident once, it's not intentional. But what are you seeing as far as, or what are you looking for in a school?
In a school, I've always wanted to go to a bigger school because, like what you said, you want to know what you want after. And I've always said that regardless of if I play volleyball or not, I want to go to a school with a big campus. And because I love watching sports, period, and I want to have a very school spirit atmosphere. And so, like, regardless of if I decide, like, regardless, say, like you said, my career could end at any moment if I step under the net. I would be so okay with going to a big school. I would love to be there. Want to go somewhere where school spirit is really important. And yeah, those are two things that I really value.
Yeah. Caroline, what about you?
Honestly, pretty much the same. For me, it's also about education because like you're not just going there for volleyball, you're going there for school too. Because
Yeah.
like you're not gonna play volleyball forever. Eventually you're gonna have to like get a job and work. So I think it's very important to like know what you want to do in college other than just volleyball and have like kind of a plan.
Yeah.
If they don't change these rules of eligibility, hell, there's some kids that may play forever.
Yeah.
I'll give you again another example of a player that played for uh, where my daughter is, transferred from a Big Ten school, and I think when she finished, I think she finished with 8 years under her belt. So
Oh my
between
goodness.
What?
COVID, between an injury, between all this stuff, she played for 8 years.
That's great.
And if they don't change that, that's going to hurt you guys because you only have so many roster spots. And at some point, I'm hoping the new rules that they're presenting, I'm sure they're going to end up in court because the only people that are making money off this are lawyers. Um, it's going to be tough, but the 5 years to play five, your clock starts at 19 or high school graduation. I think those things are all fair. A one-time free transfer without sitting out, I think is fair. If a coach leaves, then you have another opportunity to transfer for free. I think those things are all fair. I think they let this just go wild and expected, everybody to just go, oh no, the right thing to do is this. And I mean, you look at the most exciting part of NCAA basketball season is portal season now. And who's gonna replace Darius Acuff? Who's gonna replace all this stuff? And it's nuts. It's a different team every time you look up. So um, as a coach, when you're evaluating kids, what are you looking for in that training? Because it's getting later and later that kids are getting offered scholarships, it seems like. So when you're looking at that 16-year-old year to 17, what are coaches looking for, and that players can use to their advantage to develop?
Yeah. So I think one of the things we're looking at is like, do they have some of the tools to respond to a faster speed of the game? And so one of the things that we're doing with this team is we're trying to get a little faster. And so how are their transition moves developing? How fast are they reading and responding? Let's say you're an outside hitter and you're in the serve receive formation, but you don't get served. How fast can you go get prepped to go attack and be on time? And so what I think we would watch is to see, hey, does this kid get ahead of the play a little bit? And you just do that by playing a ton of volleyball, right? Like you just have to know how to read and respond to a lot of different things. These are really complex systems. But I think that's one of the things that as athletes mature, that would be a really good thing to spend some focus on.
Yeah. Um, what do you think? I had something I wanted to ask. Um, when you were at a tournament looking for players, what? And this is off the court. This
Yeah.
is maybe in between games. Maybe it's warm-ups. What do coaches have in their eye on? I know the answer to it, but I want to hear yours.
Yeah, because I'm a dad now of three, I'm always a little bit of a sucker for family moments that follow. And so I love to see how athletes treat their moms when they see them right after a match, especially something tough. One of my favorite athletes I recruited ended up going to Creighton. And I mean, I knew that kid was going to be so cool for a locker room just because of how she treated her family. She was so kind to those guys. And I saw her lose some really heartbreaking matches and just be so kind afterwards. And so I think some of those interaction moments matter. Hey, if you've got to talk to a coach when you get done playing and there's got to be some feedback there, that response matters a little bit. And then it's okay to be hyper competitive too. Like I love a kid being a little chippy after a loss. That's fine. It should hurt. What we say when we lose big matches, it should hurt, but it's going to hurt together, right? We're not going to point fingers. We're going to be hurting together, and that's okay. So yeah, some of those interactions I think are valuable.
Because you have a lot of times that, just by the way the tournaments fall out, and, your schedule as a coach, you're looking at things, is they can't be everywhere at once. And the only time they may see you is at that in-between game spot, or they may see you in warm-ups. I tell players, don't wear your warm-up tops during warm-ups. Wear your jersey where they can see your name and your number, unless you have that on your warm-up tops, so that you stand out to them. So if you're not a player they're necessarily looking at, but they stop, maybe look at somebody on the other team and they see you jumping out of the gym, you want them to know who you are. And a lot of it is that how you carry yourself off the court, whether you're on the bench or whether you're walking around the facility, you know, that whole thing is it's a constant job interview, basically. And now you want them to have fun, you want them to still be kids, you still want them to enjoy, but, you know, um, remind yourself that, there's people there watching to give you that next step. So I think that's a great point, though, about how interacting with their family. That is because you have some kids that you can tell they're just over there just griping and complaining and mad because something happened. Um, oh, I've seen parents their kid go to them, they get mad, they go straight to the coach, and I'm like, oh, you just cost your kid some scholarship opportunities with that. And I've always been close to coaches. I was one for 29 years, and I know I always told parents, I'll talk to you after the game. Don't ever come up to the dugout. We'll talk after the tournament, whatever, next day, let everything cool off. But some of them you can't deal with that. So now I want to turn this over to the girls. Excuse me, and ladies. Um, what are you working on right now? What is the one thing, or not one thing? What are the two or three things that you're working on your game right now? And this time I'm gonna start with Caroline first because, typical setter, she's trying to lead the offense there with Molly trying to lead the offense. So we're gonna let the middle get a little spotlight.
I would say probably hitting with more range, like in the middle and on the outside, just everywhere. I tend to like lean towards one spot instead of like trying to hit different corners, different like spots, like or tip. Just adding more tools to my toolbox because most of the time I find myself just wanting to hit the ball as hard as I can down instead of
Yeah.
like tipping or rolling and being smart. So I've just been working on that a lot.
Do y'all work on running any slides or anything?
Yeah, I'd say so. We just do a lot of playing, and I think we can incorporate slides a lot as well.
Yeah. All right, Molly, what about you?
I feel like one of the most important things setting right now, especially now that they've eliminated a lot of like the techniques rules, like doubles are eliminated for setting now. So I
Yeah.
feel like one of the most important things is just consistent placement, being able to put the ball in the right window every time so a hitter can hit it every time or has an option to hit it. And that's something that I think Jordan has really helped us improve on is first of all, the setter putting it in a good window and then also being able to create your own window as a hitter. And so, yeah, for me, it's a lot of out of system setting is what I've really been working on, and being able to put the ball in the right spot. And then defensively, I would say being able to read the offense a little bit earlier because a lot of the time I'll catch myself getting behind plays, and that's when, it can get a little messy. And so, yeah, I think just being able to read the offense, read whether they're going to dump or tip or swing, whatever, reading that early so that I know I'm in the right spot and I know that I'm going to be able to get the ball.
And, I'm sure you work in some peaks over there right before you set, just to see where the defense is trying to set up against you.
Yeah.
Um, I've seen some really great setters that are just amazing at that quick little glance in, and they know right where to go. And I've seen some videos of you guys, and what I love about y'all's front line is everybody's always taking off. So from a
Yes.
defensive standpoint, it's hard to, you see a lot of teams, they know it's going to the outside, so the middle and the right side just kind of,
Yeah.
they kind of just casually run up. You guys are going full throttle the whole time, no matter, where it's going, which gives a center a great opportunity to maybe change mid play and have to call something else out. So what is your how many camps have you guys gone to during the summer?
Um, I really haven't gone to that many. I've gone to maybe four total.
Yeah.
I, especially last year with it being so early on in my recruiting process, I focused more on going to like the combines at like clubs that were really big that I knew were going to have a lot of schools there that I would be interested. And so I would go more to those than to like the specific schools. And then I think this summer is where me specifically, I'll hone in on like the schools that I'm really interested in and that I really want to be able to like see their campus.
Yeah.
Last summer, I went to about 12.
Holy cow.
I went to a lot. Um, I just wanted to see different like parts of the country, so I went to a few in California. I went to some like Midwest. I went to some on the what's called other coast.
East
East
Coast?
Coast.
East Coast.
um,
Yeah.
and I think that helped me really narrow down like where I wanted to be. And this year, I think I'm gonna only go to like 4 or 5 maybe, just to like really narrow it down.
So without saying school, what's kind of where do you what environment do you like better? The East Coast, West Coast,
I'd like
Midwest?
I'd like to be able to drive home without it being like a 3 day drive.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go like really, really far, but I'm keeping all my options open.
Well, you're luckily you're in a pretty good radius of 1 day drives of some really good schools. So yeah, that I can tell you every weekend driving 8 hours to Mobile, Alabama is a haul. And there's no real good flight to go in there. So it's think of your parents, please, when when you go, they're going to want to come watch you play. But the great thing is now, and I think it's fantastic that pretty much all the Division One games are on ESPN Plus, so we can watch from anywhere. And I think there's a lot of things that are growing the game right now, and so that's great for us parents. But um, you know, so what was your favorite sport growing up? Was it always volleyball? Was it basketball? Was it softball? Was it soccer?
I did competitive swimming and I loved it.
Awesome.
I played basketball too, but I'm not a big runner, and so I didn't really love basketball. But I loved competitive swimming, but I am not really a individual sport athlete. I really love the atmosphere of being on a team, and I think that's part of why I love volleyball so much. And so I loved competitive swimming, but it just got to a point where it was so nerve-wracking to me because it was so independent.
Yeah.
Um, for me, I was a dancer. I did dance until 7th grade. So
That's why you're so agile around the net.
yeah.
Well, I don't want to take everybody's full evening. I know you guys have a night off from practice, so I'm sure you want to, relax a little bit. But so I'm gonna um, hit each one of you with kind of some just quick answer questions. So, um, Caroline, what do you think is most underrated skill on the court right now?
Blocking.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that a lot of players say that. I've been told that middle is the hardest position on the court. So, kudos to being able to not only play middle but to move to other spots. So, and what's one thing every 16th player needs to improve on, just across the board?
Yeah, how you respond in the out of system. So like how big your hitting window is, what kind of sets can I hit? And then how do I manage effectively and create an advantage even when that's not in my window?
All right, good stuff. So for both the girls, you're going to start this year and next year and the next year, start getting a lot of younger players asking you for advice. What's one thing that you've learned, I'll say it, from your coach that you would pass on to younger players, whether they're at your school or within your own club?
I think one of the most important things in volleyball isn't even a skill, it's just to be confident in your stuff and like know that you're the only one that has what you have to offer. And to know that, yeah, just being really confident in your skill set and to know that you can make yourself better.
For me, it would be just don't compare yourself to like other people. Like, don't compare your recruiting journey to other people's recruiting journey. Don't compare your skill set to other people's because like you are good at what you are good at and they're good at what they're good at. Like you're each different in your own way and you're each good at something in your own way. And I just think that comparing yourself to someone just like crushes your confidence.
One of my favorite phrases is comparison is the thief of joy. And so that's both very mature answers. Not what I would honestly expect from 16-year-olds. You
That's what
are
I'm
both
saying
16
about these
now.
guys. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
you are both
saying. These
16,
guys are
right?
so mature.
Yes.
You both had your birthday already? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Uh, Okay, another quick question. Are you driving?
Yes,
Please say
sir.
yes.
I turned 16 last week, so
Okay, get to driving. Give your parents a break, please. My oldest daughter didn't start driving until she was 18. Drove me nuts. And I finally just had to tell her, I'm not taking you anywhere. I'm done. I'm not transport. So, last one for you. If you're giving advice to a player of how to get on a coach's radar, what's the one thing you're going to tell them?
Practice really hard, right? If you get to that moment in the gym, you're going to be ready because of how you practice. You're not going to be ready because of what you're doing right there. So just practice hard every time you go out.
Well, I really appreciate you guys coming on and spending some time with us. Um, I look forward to seeing how you guys are going to finish the year. I think, um, it says a lot that you go out and you play the tougher competition, you play the tougher tournaments. You see a lot of teams that, will start at even lower than a Liberty bid, just to make sure they get that bid, and then they go up and up and up. But you guys started at a competitive level and go up, and I think that's great, and I think that is a good challenge. I'm impressed with both of you. I think it is. A great sign from your parents, from your coaches, and from everything that you've been around that you guys have the level of maturity that you do. And Jordan, I appreciate you setting me straight earlier in the year. I did have a 501 parent from a 17s team that got mad at me the same way because I left them off the list, and it was the same. It was an editing error on that one, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to make mistakes doing this. I do it because I want to see more and more attention be brought to Arkansas volleyball, and I don't do it to grow an audience. I don't get paid for any of it, and I don't want to. And I want to see kids get the chances that they can get. And it's the same reason, why a lot of club coaches coach. They want to pass on what they've learned and to see you guys get the best opportunities you can. So, um, thank you guys for being on. I appreciate it. And I'll get this edited up and cleaned up and sent out by Friday.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good.
Thank you so
thank
much.
you.